Hello everybody! In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at these Bachmann Easy Track N-Scale turnouts, or switches, depending on what you call them. But yeah, we're redoing our layout and we're going to add a N-scale loop, or a couple of N-scale loops, and we thought we'd throw a couple of switches in there. We've never done switches with the N-scale track before, so this is a first for us. So why don't we go ahead and just unbox these real quick and see what's in the package. And unboxing is never super easy. For us, anyway. Alright, so what we have here inside the box is the switch, or the turnout itself. I'm just going to call them turnouts from here on out.
Sure, Jan.
And it has the attached green cord that actually runs the switch, or the switch mechanism on the inside of the turnout here. So you can see on the bottom, it's all covered with, looks like stainless steel there. And then you can see some of the electronics here, red wires. Again, the green wire. This is not the power wire. This is the wire that receives the signal from the switch, and you know, the electronic switch, and then flips the switch based on the direction that you hit. And it also has the red power wire. So this is the wire that's going to connect to the electronic switch here, and then it's going to attach to your power supply. And then it came with some instructions. So we're not going to read those out, but you know, just know that they come in the package here. And on the instructions, it actually tells you how you can hook these up electrically, which is what we're going to do too. Now, I remember that a while back we did a video on HO scale turnouts and how to hook them up to your layout so that you can run them electronically with the switches. And I don't recall the HO Bachmann turnouts coming with instructions like this does. But yeah, we'll go ahead and set these up and get them working and see what it looks like. Alright, so as far as looking at the turnout itself, as you saw from our unboxing, there's nothing really specific to see here. Like I said, there's just a couple of wires here that hit the track from the underside, but all the electronics are covered up with this stainless steel plate here, so not a ton to see there. On the top, it just looks like a regular turnout, just a smaller version of that HO turnout, and then it does have the manual throw here on the side. So it does have that. So for the electronic switch itself, throw switch, it does actually have, what's kind of nice here is it has a direction indicator here. So here's the curve indicator here, meaning if the switch is to this side, the train will go around the curve, and then here's the straight indicator. So if the switch is thrown that way, the train will go up the straight part of the track here. So that's kind of cool. And then nothing on the bottom here, just a couple of access screws on the bottom. And then there are the connections you can use, or if you're going to use these electronically, you'll have to use to hook up your electronics. So the one that is on the bottom here, or the side, depending on which way you look at it, that's where your connection for the track, the green wire, will come in here. And then on the ends, you'll see there's connections here. That is where your power wire will go. So what we're going to do here is we're going to unwrap these wires, we're going to hook it up to some power, and we're going to see if we can't get these switches to work. So first thing I'll do here is just unwrap the wire. It's not very long, it looks like it's a couple of feet. These are the same wires, same wire configuration that you get, you know, with the rest of the Bachmann accessories. You know, these aren't, just because it's N scale, in other words, doesn't mean that the wires are any different, any smaller or bigger or anything like that. So we're just going to go ahead and unwrap this. Let's get all those straight and flat. All right, there we go. Everything all kind of unwrapped there. So basically how these will go together is, again, your green wire is going to plug into the bottom here. And your red wire for your power is going to go into the end here. And it's the end with the little blade connectors down here. Just in case you're new at this or whatever, most people who've worked with these already know this, but there are little blade connectors there, and then they plug into the receivers here. Now the red cable, both of these cables actually have 3 connection points here, but don't get fooled. This side here only has 2, but you plug this in, it'll just utilize the 2, obviously, that it's plugged into. But yeah, there's your connection right there. So let's get this thing hooked up to some power. So what we're going to use for power today is our AC adapter here. We did an earlier video on how to power your accessories with an AC adapter, just in case you didn't have any power connectors for accessories on your power supply that supplies your track. So super easy, check that video out. We're using the one that we actually demonstrated in that video. On the end that goes to the accessories here, you'll see we've got this little adapter right here that came with this AC adapter. And what it does is it plugs in like so with these barrel connectors, nice adapter here. And then on the other end, it has a way to plug in wires. And so what we have here are 2 wires coming from our AC adapter, and we're going to use a terminal block. And the reason I'm using a terminal block, these connectors that came with the turnout has these fork connectors, and so I just want to have something nice and neat to plug those into. And so these terminal blocks here have nice screw connectors here that will receive these fork connectors real nice.
Really nice.
We have a number of videos out where we've used terminal blocks. We explain that. So you can use terminal blocks one of 2 ways. You can have one complete terminal block coming out of each wire, or you can do what we did here, which is take one terminal block and split it in half. So you can see here our jumper is the black, that's powering this side, and then our red jumper here is powering this side. The power isn't connected across, it's only connected this way. So as long as the jumper doesn't connect, then you've got 2 independent blocks of power here. And then of course, the wires from the power supply is going into each side. I'm using the top screw for each side here. And then what we do is we're going to take our power supply here from our power wires from our turnout. Actually, let me go, oh, that's red to red anyway. So we'll just plug these in here, clamp those down. I'm just going to separate these wires a little bit. They don't give you a whole lot of slack, but they spread apart pretty easily. So 1 wire to one side, 1 wire to the other side. Clamp those down, and we should have power here with our switch here. So let's just throw the switch. Oh yeah. Look at that, back and forth. Let me spread that out a little bit so it's easier to kind of see what's going on here. All the red wires here don't really help, but again, we have 2 power wires going to each side of the terminal block. We have a power lead from the power wire here to the switch going, again, one to each side. Even though there's 3 reds here, it might be a little bit confusing, but take a good look at that. And you'll see, and then you'll see here if we throw our direction switch here. Oops, that's all covered up. You'll see there that it works pretty good. And you'll see that the manual switch here throws too. as I turn the directions here. Okay, now one thing you might notice here is that for my direction indicator here, it is thrown to, I hope it's bright enough, but the switch is facing toward the straight indicator. Now notice here that the points are in the curved position here. So that's not right. We want to make sure that when the switch is on the curved indicator, then the switch is on the curved side. And when the switch is thrown to the straight side, the points will make the train go straight. So that's not happening right here. If I throw it here to the curved, you see now it's straight. So this should be kind of working in the opposite. If that happens to you, easy fix, just unplug the green wire, turn it over, so flip it, plug it back in, and then what we should see here now is that I have the switch is on the curved indicator side, and you can see here the train, where the points will be pointing the train around the curved side of the turnout. So yeah, pretty good stuff there. So we have a nice functioning turnout here in N scale. Now again, I'm using these terminal blocks here, but why don't we add another switch to the mix and see how we go about doing that. Okay, so as you can see here, I just unpacked a second switch or turnout, and I just unraveled the cords here. This turnout still working. Okay, and so we want to figure out how we can throw a second switch into the mix here. So there's one of two things we can do here. We're going to go ahead and put our cable here in the bottom or side, depending on how you're orienting it here. I don't want to hold this up too high because my camera might go out of focus. And then we can go ahead and plug in a separate power cable, and then hook our power. If we're using terminal blocks, we can just continue to add turnouts to the terminal blocks here. I'm just gonna shut this off for a second, even though it won't shock me or anything like that. It's just always good practice to shut off your electricity before you play with the wires. So now all we're doing, again, just throwing wires on either side. Our turnout power wires here. So we'll plug everything back in. So we'll just go back to our original switch here. Still working pretty good. And now we have this one plugged in. And so here, you can see that we'll just throw the switch here, and you can see that one's working too. So all we did was just set up two individual switches to a power supply, nothing big there. But there is another way we can do this if you only have one one wire to plug in your switches. So what we can do here is something a little bit different, in that we can remove this power wire altogether, and what we can do is on the other side of the switch, you'll see there are these receivers for those blade connectors. Now this is the same way that we daisy chained switches together on the HO scale. But what happens is that the blade connectors on one switch will plug into the other switch, just like so. Might take a little bit of finagling here, but we'll get it. There we go. Okay, so what we've done here is we've removed that second power wire from the mix here, and what we've done is daisy chained, I call it daisy chain, but we really just connected these two switches together by those connectors on either end. And now all we have is one power. We only need one power wire to power both of these switches. So we'll just go ahead and throw that switch. You can see that switch being thrown. And then this one here. Perfect. Yeah, so that is how you can connect multiple switches if you only have one wire to work with. And if you look at the end here, you can continue. There's another connection at the end of the run here that you can just continue to add switches to. We just have two here. We'll eventually have three on our layout when we get to that. But yeah, so we can basically chain 3 switches together with 1 power supply. And that's a good solution if you have limited connections to your accessories and so forth. So, but terminal blocks, again, will allow you to plug those in individually. So it just depends on which way you want to go. But anyway, that is our N-scale turnouts and how we're going to use them electronically here. So we'll have the switches at some kind of a control panel area, and then wires running to the switches, and we'll be able to run them from our little control panel. So yeah, I think it's a good setup. I think Bachmann has a good system there, super easy to use. And again, the instructions came with it. Unlike the HO scale, which I don't think came with instructions. We had to kind of figure that one out. So yeah. All right, one last thing before we end our little benchtop demonstration here. So before I was using the AC adapter with the terminal blocks as the power supply. So that's probably not going to be typical to your average beginner or weekend warrior model railroader. You're probably using the power supply from your train set, like this Bachmann power supply here, or using the accessory terminals on a regular, train power supply. So we'll just cover this here. These Bachmann controllers are pretty common. They basically come with just about every set that that Bachmann puts out, especially the entry-level sets. So how you would use this here is that you would set up your turnout switches just the way I did here by chaining them together, so you only have 1 power supply. And then what I'm going to do here is, because I have these fork connectors here, I don't think they'll fit in the Bachmann connector here, although they might. Oh, they do. Let's use that. I was going to use some alligator clips, but we won't do that. Anyway, I don't know how many people know this or not, because I didn't know this for the longest time, but these little plungers here at the top of the power supply are actually the accessory connectors here. So what we're going to do is we'll take one side of our fork, and you push them down, and they're kind of bayonet connectors. So you push them down, it'll expose a hole. I don't know if you can see it from here, but you push it down, there's a hole like right there, you'll be able to see that. And if you release it, it kind of clamps down on whatever's in that hole through a spring mechanism. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to take our 4 connectors, I'm just going to take one side, pop them in there. I personally would use a wire, not the 4 connector, but this will work in a pinch. There we go. And remember, never touch wires together from different poles, otherwise you'll short things out. But yeah, so here we go. We get one. Oops, that popped out. I don't think this has a very good spring mechanism here on this plunger right here. This is kind of an old controller. But anyway, you got your 2 switches chained together, connected together. You've got 1 power supply and then 2 switches. But you've got your power supply plugged into your AC adapter piece here. So let's go ahead and throw our switches. And you can see here the top switch is going back and forth. Bottom switch, back and forth. So I just wanted to kind of close that loop here, that while we were using an AC adapter, because I do think it's a cool way to power accessories and kind of take the pressure or stress off of your regular power supply, I realize that not everybody will have that, and not everybody's using terminal blocks and things like that. So if you had 1, 2, or 5 turnouts on your N-scale layout or HO scale layout, you can just chain those electronic switches, throw switches together. 1 power supply goes right to your AC power supply on your train power supply, using power supply an awful lot here, and then that will control all of your switches or turnouts. I said I was going to call them turnouts at the beginning of the video, but anyway. All right, so I think that's going to do it. I think what we'll do is just show you on the layout how we're going to use these switches real quick. It won't take very long, and you'll see how we're going to implement our multiple N-scale switches, and how they're going to look once they're all wired and powered up. But for now, that's it from the bench, and we'll see you in a couple minutes. All right, so this is our new layout that we've been working on. We replaced the grass mats with foam that just that pink foam board insulation. It's not that we don't like the grass mats. I know we've done a bunch of layouts with the grass mats and we do like those, but we're just trying to try something a little bit different here. And you'll see here that there's some track missing, and that's where those turnouts are gonna go. So what we're gonna do here is we'll just go ahead and attach our final track pieces here, get them wired up, and then just quickly show you the final product here with the N-scale Bachmann Easy Track turnouts. All right, through the miracle of editing, you can see here that we've got our 3 N-scale switches added here. Way over there, I'll just zoom in real quick. And right there on that inner loop. So why don't we go ahead and yeah, test them out. So here are our 3 N-scale switches. They're chained together here or connected together. We have one power line going to our terminal block for our accessories, and then we have the 3 switch control wires here, and then again our control switches. And then these are the HO scale turnouts here, throw switches. So we have 5 of those, and they're color coded. We haven't put the posts in yet on the new layout with the matching colors, but you can see here that each switch will have a color-coded post that matches these colors on the layout. We'll do the same thing with these 3 switches here. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for our N-scale switch project here. As you can see, we added 3 switches to that inner N-scale loop, and they're all wired up to our control center so that we can control them remotely, and it was super easy. As a matter of fact, instructions come with the N-scale switches, where I don't believe instructions came with those HO switches. But anyway, super easy. I hope you guys give it a shot, and as you can see, we've got a long way to go here on our layout. We got all the track down, but now we have to do all of the scenery and things like that. You can see we got some pieces there on the end. Whether they're permanent or not, I'm not sure, but we'll continue to work on it, and we'll catch you in the next video.